I've been here before. It's a strange, desolate, barren planet. And I'm looking for Paul. Paul, where are you? Are you here? What's that? Paul? Is that you?
Geoff.
What's this well over here? I'm going to go and look down this well. Maybe Paul has fallen down the well.
In the well.
Paul! Are you down there? Are you down the well?
I'm behind you.
Oh, there you are, mate. Hello.
Hi.
All right.
Yes,
I'm not sure that
thank
worked
you.
the way I planned it to, but at least we tried.
It was an effort.
It was
Put it
an
there.
effort, yeah.
It was an effort.
So, we are here to review the well.
Sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, well, we've done that. Which
Oh
you
yeah.
can
That's
find
one
on
way
our
you're dicking around with it.
library.
It's like your little comfort toy, isn't it? It's like your stress buster, little stress ball.
Yeah, I quite like this one. So
Yeah, lovely,
bring it out
great.
because it's
It's
a
not annoying in the
15th
slightest.
15th Doctor episode, so bring the appropriate Sonic out.
Like it. See the way you're thinking.
So yes, let's discuss the well.
The
Episode
well.
3.
The well. Right. So yeah. So I texted you after I'd seen this one, hadn't I?
Yes.
I made sure you'd seen it first, and I said, finally, at last, a return to form, a Doctor Who story in this series for the 15th Doctor that I really, really, really enjoyed. I watched it with my daughter Freya, and she enjoyed it as well. She did get a bit legged up with the signs. That's my girl, bless her. I'm so proud, but I don't have an issue with that. I think it's fine.
I thought you said you didn't like the science either.
No, she didn't like the signs. I said I didn't mind it
Oh,
particularly.
okay, because I thought
No, it was all right. To be fair, it was all good. She was just kicking off the fact that there's only like, was it 15 carbon isotopes that are known or something. And I said, well, look, it's the future. They may discover more, stuff like that.
It's an alien planet.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, chemistry is chemistry, isn't it? Right?
But you don't know
carbon
what's
is
an
carbon.
alien planet.
Carbon occurs. Carbon occurs. It's carbon. If it's not carbon, it's something else. So if it's on an alien planet and it's an alien mineral, fine, you can do whatever the fuck you like with it. But if it's a known thing, if it's diamond, carbon, it's carbon, regardless of where you find it. So as of current science, there are only 15 carbon isotopes. But who knows? Maybe in the future we'll discover more, because it's extonic light, which is a made-up thing given off by the sun. We've got, what is it, gravionic radiation. Hold on, I did make a note. Galvanic radiation. There you go. She kicked off as that, saying there's no such thing. I said it doesn't matter. It was used in the gun, in the giggle that split the Doctor. So it works in the Doctor Who universe.
It's like, this planet doesn't have oxygen, so nothing could live on it.
Well, you know what? This is one thing that I did take exception to, right? So there's a point at the start of it. Let's just get the negative stuff out of the way, right? This is the only thing that I took exception to, because I really don't like it when the Doctor says, "But that's impossible," because it's literally about to be shown that it is possible. So why would the Doctor, in all his and her scope of the universe, in all their adventures and travels and experiences in various dimensions, in various realities, at various points in history, suddenly turn around and say, well, that's impossible? Because he's saying it's not possible for anything to live under such extreme conditions on that planet, with all that radiation blasting on. I mean, regardless of the fact they're kind of walking around there anyway, so clearly something can actually live on there. But ignore that. The Doctor says it's impossible, so it's impossible. It's like in Impossible Planet, where he says it's impossible to have a planet orbiting a black hole. It's more than possible to have a planet orbiting a black hole. Of course it's possible. Black hole is just a centre of gravity, just a very strong centre of gravity, so the orbit has got to be quite extreme, and yes, granted, it might actually be quite chaotic and slightly unpredictable orbit, but nonetheless, it is not impossible. So I really don't like it when the Doctor says it's impossible, because it's just dumb. But anyway, apart from that, I thought it was wonderful.
Good. Well,
what do you think?
Listeners and viewers, I hope you enjoyed that.
Of course they do. Don't you, listeners? Darling, tell me that I'm his favourite. Go on, just write it down in the comments. Paul's my favourite because just all the sciencey shit and everything. Yeah. It's just a Dumbo. He just likes things to look pretty.
I really liked this one.
Shut up.
It's been 3 episodes that have gone from pretty good with Robot Revolution to excellent with Lux to excellent with this. And it's
actually kind of returned to form. Really. I say it's kind of the well is good by being slightly above average.
It's funny because it was all written, presumably, at the same time as Series 1, give or take, and then filmed like a couple of weeks after. So the upturn in quality is not because they've gone, no one liked Series 1, quick fix it.
This is all done before any kind of fan feedback, wasn't it?
Right? So there's really nothing that could have been factored into anything.
Well, maybe the studio execs had looked at it, all the BBC and that, and say, this one's a bit rubbish, this. What's going on? I don't understand it.
It's still unlikely.
Because they're all actually based in Halifax.
Yeah, not Burbank. It's still unlikely because, it would have been ready to film. So anyway, the upturn in quality for me is quite amazing. I thought this episode was had great production values. I really liked all of that. The suits were great. The set was was a pretty big set they had there. It was increasingly tense and creepy, and I like a good spooky Who, and this was not so spooky as more kind of just horror, really. I felt, and I really liked it for that. I liked that the Doctor was sort of a bit not out of control, but didn't really know what to do.
He wasn't quite in control. He was sort of in and out of control, wasn't he?
Yeah, and the whole entity thing, and the realization that he'd been there before, met this thing before, but now it's kind of developed and evolved, and is playing with them all a little bit. And I thought Shooty was great. There was a bit of the usual kind of his sort of jovial nature at the beginning, but then as it kind of went on, that disappeared, and he was just excellent this week. And the bit where he cried, which was really, I felt, justified in this
actually
one.
The only time he's ever cried where it felt like it was warranted and genuine out of all the times, finally it felt kind of okayish.
It showed you that the entity, whatever it said, it knew something, and it it really scared him, and kind of echoed a bit of when 10 met the entity. So I thought that was really good. I thought Belinda was great. She got to take charge. She showed some real kind of empathy as well, and I like the nurse thing. The Doctor and the nurse pairing is really good. She's brilliant.
She's really good.
I like the dynamic.
I think was it Al said she pulls everyone up, or was it Jonathan? I can't remember.
She's lifted.
I think she does.
She's
so good.
Up. And maybe he was a bit more sort of into it all at that point, relaxed and things, But her dynamic is just, I think, more interesting. She wants to go home.
She feels natural. Her character is 100% believable.
Yeah, and they're just really good together. Him and Ruby weren't not good together, but it's just something different
dynamic. Different chemistry.
And, the character, she's wanting to get home, but also is kind of drawn into all this and wants to be involved with it as well, and so that's quite interesting. It's changing a bit like that. I thought the stuff with Alice and the thing appearing behind and all of that was just brilliantly done. The sound on it, the noise, the way they had the sort of projections for what they were saying was a really nice touch.
It shows you don't need a big bad CGI monster, do you?
No.
You can just play on the simplest things, which is Midnight's strength, really. There's massive special effects in it other than practical effects.
No.
And just the sheer drama and the acting within that confined space.
And that's what you had here, because it largely all took place in that circular room. And I've seen a few people online say that the script written by is her name Angel?
Sharma Angel Walfall.
Yeah, so she perhaps pitched this idea.
She's a co-writer, isn't she?
Yeah, but I sort of
she's not. She's credited on screen, but I was looking on the BBC website, and she's not credited there. It's just credited solely to Russell T Davies as a writer.
Oh, really? So I saw
bit
people
weird.
say that she'd pitched this idea, written it, and then he'd added the midnight sort of thing to it.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't
knows?
know on that. But when I'd started to hear that this was a sequel to Midnight, I thought,
Oh, did you know before that then?
well, the rumour, that it was back on the planet and stuff, and I thought, there was part of me that thought, actually, I quite like the idea of a sequel in Who. I mean, Flesh and Stone was sort of a semi-sequel with the angels and stuff, wasn't it?
It was just more angels, really, wasn't it? It was just like a return of angels. It didn't pick up the same timeline or story.
No, there was an element of the crashed spaceship that was mentioned somewhere before and stuff. But I was a bit wary. I kind of thought, oh God, is he gonna, blow how good Midnight is by trying to sort of top it or whatever. But I thought it worked really well, and I quite liked that thing. When the Doctor realised it's midnight, it's behind you, and that was where the thing lived all the time, and then they used the water to create the reflection, and then it's behind
Mercury.
you in itself. Yeah, the mercury, water on set, and
Mercury.
I thought that was a really nice, clever touch on it. And I also saw a theory that Alice was dead the whole time and is being puppeted by
that's grim.
By the entity, which I thought was
Well, she
quite
survived. She went
interesting.
in the elevator at the end,
but
didn't
then
she?
it's a bit the thing, Someone said her suit was all sort of grey and not lit up, whereas the others are lit up, and that might be reflecting that
It was lit up, wasn't it?
No, it's not.
And her faceplate, her visor was lit from the inside.
I don't think so, but the suit is a different colour.
It's a different kind of suit. Yeah,
the life form detecting thing at the end had an extra thing on it.
So it says maximum 6. There's 3 people in the lift, but it clicks 4, doesn't it? There's 4 people indicated.
And then the bit with the 2 other people, I can't remember their names, when she was going, no, it's not me. And I thought it was sort of,
right at the very end.
Yeah, a bit.
Mo and someone who only appeared there, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit like the thing, who's got it, So I thought that was quite cool, bit open-ended.
Yeah, it was a good ending. Yeah.
So there was, overall, this was excellent. I was really gripped by it and invested into it, and I was scared, and it went from being quite fun really at the beginning, like it's just an adventure, what's going on, like that when the Doctor said to that guy, he said something like, I'm not feeling the look, babes, and he said it's totally inappropriate to call me babes.
Yeah.
And he went, okay, hun. Which I thought was quite a nice little bit. So there was 2 small things that I didn't like in this one.
Right.
Can you guess what one of them was?
Would his initials be DT, for example?
yeah. 3
I always
episodes
used to love that. In the old series, when they would show a little flashback from a previous Doctor Who episode, particularly if it related to an early Doctor. Like there's a sequence in Time Lash, right, 6th Doctor story, when the mirror smashes and there's like an image of the 3rd Doctor behind it. I love that. There's that bit in Earthshock where the Cybermen identify the Doctor and they kind of run through his previous incarnations. And the thing is, right, you can look at that as a grizzled old grizzly. But when you're a kid, and maybe you've never seen those stories, they're only like something that happened in legend and myth, for example, rather than just iPlayer where you can just watch them at any time. But, certainly in my day you couldn't, right? So they have a sort of, there's just an extra kind of frizz on in seeing a previous Doctor in a tiny little cameo flashback like that.
I like that. Generally, like when 11 projected all the past Doctors, then he walked out of
exactly. The Book of Impossible Things in the Family of Blood.
Yeah, all of that's great. It just how I feel about Tennant, and
See now, so let me ask you this: if it was a flashback to the 13th Doctor and we saw her little face, you'd have freaked out, wouldn't you? You'd been, I love this. Even more.
Yes, I would have done.
Purely your own bias that leads
absolutely.
you to this.
And I will admit that, the overusage of Tennant is just ludicrous now.
It is. I agree. I agree. It is ludicrous. But in this context, it works because obviously it relates to a 10th Doctor story.
Yes,
you
it
can't
does.
get away from that, I'm afraid, mate.
You could have not shown him. So yes, it's very difficult. It needed to be there because in a way it's quite a brave, well, not brave, but a bold move to do an episode like this that relies on knowledge of a near 20-year-old episode, and I think that
I don't think he does rely on it. Actually, I think you could watch this without watching Midnight.
Yeah,
you'd watch this and then you'd go back and watch Midnight and go,
I think it stands on its own, but I think you get more out of it if you know
agreed.
Midnight.
Yeah,
so
which is just the way it should be.
Yeah, it's so it could have been a total disaster. It's a bit like the thing of bringing back Sutek, before he's a however many year old villain. Does any of the desired new audience of the show know who he is? No. And did it really work? No. But this did.
Shaking my head.
It worked nicely. So yes, there's too much Tennant for me.
Too much Tennant.
It feels
David
a shame.
Tennant's big fans would highly disagree with you there.
Well, they may well do, and that's fine.
Write in, tell us if you disagree with Geoff that there's too much Tennant.
Yeah, do we need more Tennant?
Do we need more Tennant? He's a big ambassador for the show. Very popular.
Yeah,
Stick his face on a tea towel, you'll sell billions of them.
Would you? That's a whole other episode, isn't it?
Join us next time.
Tennant.
Is there too much Tennant on TV? In Doctor Who, specifically, I guess.
Well,
just across TV, generally.
Is there more than one David
We love
Tennant?
you, David. We do. I do, and I know Geoff does as well, actually. He's just slightly overwhelmed by the constant use of your visage. But if you ever want to come on our show, we would love it, obviously. And Geoff would be very, very polite most of the time, I guess.
They said no. So there you go. And the other thing that I was the Mrs. Flood thing, because I was like,
we're a bit bored of Mrs. Flood now, I think, aren't we?
It's just like Susan Twist again. Now
this one really was exactly the same thought that I had.
And the previous ones, you ain't seen me, right?
It's seen me straight to camera.
Yeah, I quite like that. She's their neighbour and all that. And that sort of works. And she was there at Lux and things like that, which was venturing into Susan Twist territory. But now she's on the screen, and is exactly the same. So
she's literally doing Susan Twist, isn't she?
Yeah.
We're seeing a repetition of that particular device. Although maybe there's a reason for that, because maybe she had more to do with the Susan Twist than we were perhaps led to believe.
Well, possibly, and I do believe that Susan Twist is back this season. So
is she?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm staying clear of all rumours and everything. So I'm literally going into these stories as clean as I possibly can. I've muted everything BBC Doctor Who on all my socials.
Right.
And because I had no idea this was on the Midnight Planet. I kind of had it half in my head that possibly it was the Impossible Planet, to mining and dig space and spacesuits and blah blah blah, and and of course they went down to that pit and they saw the devil, didn't they? So I wondered if in some way it might be perhaps related to that. So when it started to be revealed, the reveal I thought was done brilliantly, much better than the whole Susan technology thing, which was just nonsense. But this was really, really well done, and I felt that frizz-on that you get, the goosebumps rising when you just start to think about it and just guess it ever so slightly ahead of the reveal on the telly. I love that. So that really added a brilliant dimension to me. And of course, Midnight is one of my favourite 10 episodes. I love it. It's like this, it's an absolute masterclass in raising the stakes using minimal kind of apparatus. It's all in the story, it's all in the characters, it's all in the actors, the direction, the camera angles, everything working together to build that atmosphere, to raise the tension. And that moment when all the bodies start flying everywhere, because it all goes a bit tits, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's that you get the standoff within the military guys, and you got what's his name, Cassio, who is Christopher Chung from Slow Horses. Roddy, annoying IT guy. Slow Horses is my favourite thing on Apple TV. I
Never
love
seen it,
mate. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It is brilliant, and he's in there, and he is the most obnoxious guy that you can believe, and he's actually quite obnoxious in here as well. So I wonder if he's starting to get a little bit typecast. I would love to see him in a completely opposite role to this. But anyway, he takes control, doesn't he? Sort of raises a code red or something.
So what were the other characters called? Was it Tag Her, Breitling, G-Shock?
You're quoting watches now, aren't you? No, just Casio with a double S, so it's not the same as Casio keyboard / calculators /
or
the Casio do watches? They might have done.
Yes,
yeah.
they do.
They did the old digital watches, didn't they? That was in the 80s.
Quite clever calling him Casio like a watch.
Yeah. Very funny.
Very good,
so that was good. And that whole moment where literally where the shit hits the fan was just really good. It was unstoppable. It was almost like, oh my god, everyone's going to die. And the way they were kind of moving around and saying, stop moving, almost, you know, and trying to get out of the way so they weren't caught in that danger zone behind and between. I thought that was really, really brilliantly done. So that was fantastic. I thought also as well, we have to say it's Rose Ayling-Ellis. Alice.
She was fantastic. Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, she's great anyway, and again, you know, she's one of Freya's favourite actors, bar none. I think she loves everything she does. So, and it was great to see her in such a central role. I never saw her in EastEnders, so I had no idea, you know, how great she was or whatever. But you know, I've watched a few Strictly episodes with her in, and just her whole personality just so endearing and captivating. And I loved all her expressions. The fear that was so tangibly radiating off her, you know, as she held those moments was just... And there's some really nice little close-ups on her face when there's a multitude of expressions going on and you're trying to read it. You know, does she know this thing? Does she know more than she's saying? She does, she doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like, until it was kind of revealed that the monster was actually a thing behind her, you never quite knew who she was or what, you know what I mean? It was loads and loads of questions just firing away constantly, one after the other, in an absolutely spellbinding episode from start to finish. I say that, there was something else which I didn't quite get either, right? Bit of a coincidence. Now look, you start this going on about Tennant, but as soon as I start kicking off, you take a deep breath and roll your eyes, show the back of the whites of your eyes. But no, it's fine for Geoff, not fine for me. Well, hold on there 1 minute, Mr. Geoff, because I'm going to tell you this little thing that I didn't like. So anyway, that was what I hated. What did you do? What did you do, man? No, I'll tell you what, it was the spacesuits, right? So they go for the costume change right at the start, right? Murray Gold's music at the start, crikey, a way to turn me off an episode, just have Murray Gold do some at a totally inappropriate moment, but okay, let's go with it. It's almost like that bit in Rose where they're running down Westminster Bridge hand in hand. That works because it's of that time. It's great. It's joyous. It's fun. In the TARDIS with Belinda saying, "How do I get home from here?" And then it brings it down a little bit. But anyway, that's another thing. Then they go get changed in a kind of literally a carbon copy of their Maestro episode, wasn't it? You know, let's run off and get into... Which they did also
TV show.
in the Miami episode last time, Lux, didn't they? And they come out wearing amazing, you know, exactly the same spacesuits that they're wearing on the dropship. And it just so happens there's two empty spaces side by side in the middle when they all collect their helmets. You know, two spaces, two helmets, and they clip on. I thought that was... see, if I was writing it, I would worry about that. I would think of some way to get around that, but Russell was like, bugger it, just get with it. It's not going to hold the story up.
It's genius. It's genius.
It's not genius. It's bullshit.
No, I'm being sarcastic.
I hate it. Oh, you're being sarcastic. I have a problem with your sarcasm.
Anyone else? Well, as do other Twitter users, apparently.
It's way over my head.
It's the most woke.
Don't go down that road.
So I was like, oh yes, it is woke, yes, trash.
I thought you were agreeing with it.
You've just missed the
dear,
point
good Lord. Anyway, back on the real world.
Yeah, so this was excellent. I was
I thought you were going to pick up from where I'd left off there, but no, you're just going to go in a completely different direction.
There was one really good bit of music actually in this.
Well, I thought most of the atmospheric stuff was fantastic.
As they started to go around Alice, there was one particular.
But then it came back at the end as well, didn't it? All the do 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 do. It's like no, you just killed it completely.
Well,
you know,
I need.
Please let somebody other than Murray Gold have a crack at the music. I don't dislike Murray Gold. I think he's got some. I mean, some of his scores for Doctor Who have been fantastic and extraordinary and wonderful. But please let someone else have a go.
I remember you text me and you said Segan would have
killed it. He absolutely would.
With his music. And you are totally right. I was just going to make a point about it.
Yeah.
Oh, the TARDIS. Which previously I thought was unnecessarily massive and very clinically cold, has somehow started to look quite good this time. Maybe it's the fact that they've got a lot of colour going on in it.
Yeah, they do.
And when they pull the handle and they start to travel, there's this some sort of weird bending effect that they've used.
It's very subtle actually.
Yeah, it is.
Quite good.
The sort of background of the shot sort of ripples, which is quite cool. So it's still not a favourite at all, but it's certainly looking a lot better than it had previously, I think. So
yeah.
I like it.
Also, did you get the when they said let's nuke the site from orbit? Was something in your brain saying it's the only way to be sure?
Game over,
because there was
man.
in mine.
It's game over, man.
Game over, man. It's game over, man.
Oh, do you know what would have been so good?
Yeah.
If Belinda had gone, get away from her, you bitch.
Bitch, yeah. there was quite a bit of that. Even when what's the name? The boss from Captain Shaya Castilian. When she falls, she sacrifices her. She throws herself down the well.
It's like Ripley falling
3,
into
right?
Yeah. I forgot about that. I meant to mention that. Yeah, this took
Some nice
Aliens,
little
Aliens
references.
3, The Thing, and Midnight, and went it's here.
Yeah, and if it exploded out of the butt, done a little chest burster or something.
And do you know, watching this, I thought I'm going to order season 2 on Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Well, I probably will order it.
But I.
Excuse me.
I did not do
point.
that on Series 1.
You didn't, did you? So your collection's going to be incomplete.
Yeah,
so I have to have it anyway, just for that.
Well, yeah,
if
normally,
nothing else.
Normally that's what I do. But I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm going
There's
to
a
wait
lot of
till
stuff on the Series 1.
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
there's
It's
a lot of episodes.
all that confidential stuff which I haven't watched.
Yeah, maybe at some point I'll get it if I find it.
Yeah, when it comes up cheap in a car boot sale or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, oh, there it is, Series 1. I didn't buy that back in the day.
And then I'll watch
I might
it.
complete my collection.
And I'll go, oh, it's actually quite good. So I'm a bit tight on time today, so we could wrap this one up for now.
I've got loads to go. What about the whole human race? Earth is unknown.
Oh, yes, quickly. Yes,
Come on.
That's very intriguing. That the Earth was not in its usual parking space, and they can't get back there. Hence the Invidiator or whatever the thing is called.
Vindicator.
That's the one. But it was quite interesting that they'd never heard of humans or Earth.
Yeah, because the Doctor says at the start there's always a human race, and which goes back to Tom Baker's speech, the Fourth Doctor's speech in The Ark in Space. You know, Homo sapiens, indomitable. You know, they'll always survive, they'll always persist, but they don't somehow. Nobody's heard of them.
So that's quite interesting as a
we did
mysterious...
see Taxi, didn't we, floating in space?
Yeah.
Russell T Davies having a laugh at his own tropes, no doubt. I'm sure.
Yeah. But I hope that the reveal of this is not that the Daleks have, taken Earth out of.
I'd love it to be the Daleks.
Reality or something.
It'd be nice to see the 15th against the Daleks.
He's got to fight him at some point.
He has to. If these other rumours, which I have heard about. And that is going to regenerate the end of this series or something. He has to have encountered the Daleks, otherwise he's not a proper Doctor.
Well, didn't we have a reality bomb with Davros before? Now we've got a reality war coming.
Oh yes, we do. Yeah, so it might actually.
Maybe it'll be that.
I mean, reality bomb, whatever. But Just throw that one out the window. Forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kicking off about number of isotopes in a carbon molecule. This one is just. Do you know what? Don't even bother. Don't even go there. Just open a magic door and let the fairies take you away.
You do that with salt, I believe. So, right, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for listening. This is a midweek early release for our explorers, so thank you for subscribing.
Yes,
we appreciate it massively. And we'll be back later in the week with the review for Lucky Day. So we will catch you then.
See you then. Bye. Ciao for now. TTFN, is that what we were saying?
That's the one. Yeah.
TTFN. There you go.
Well, it's your lucky day because that was just our review for The Well, and now we're going to go straight into a review for The Lucky Day. If you're watching on YouTube, you might be wondering, why are they both wearing different clothes and why is Paul in a completely different location? Well, the answer to that is because we were both so busy last weekend and for a few days after that we weren't able to record our review for The Well and finally got around to it a bit later in the week. So our Explorer subscribers have heard that and now we're double billing these reviews for everyone else on Sunday. So here we are. So,
lucky for our Explorers subscribers, eh? They got all of that in one go without having to share the billing.
Yes, they did, and they also quite liked our special intro for that one.
Did we do a special intro for that one? Yes, we did. I'm just messing with you, Geoff. I do remember that because you spent such a long time producing that, didn't you? It was amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
It was very good. Exceptional. Yes. So we quite enjoyed The Well, didn't we? We thought that was a good episode.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I've got a cold. I've got a terrible cough, mate. It's nasty. I'm like Coffee Bob Fleming, but crack on.
we keep arse references that probably no one else gets.
Another Fast Show thing. You've got to be of a certain age, obviously.
Go the Fast Show.
It's something that actually Geoff has always found funny, clearly, and still does. Was it 30 years later?
Yeah, it probably is about that. Yeah, it's quite old now. Yeah,
it's actually more time has passed than the age you were when you were watching it, no doubt.
Yes, it would be. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's move on.
Yeah. So I thought The Well was. I thought the Well was excellent, and like I probably said earlier in this episode, season 2 so far has gone from pretty good with the Robot Revolution to what I felt was very good with Lux, if not excellent.
Oh, really? That's
The Well, and then we move on to Lucky Day. So this is how do you say his name? Pete McTighe? Pete McTee?
Pete McTighe. Pete, just call him Pete. What? Pete, let's go. Pete. Not Pat. Pete.
So he wrote this episode.
It's a trigger word. Sorry. Yeah.
And he's also the showrunner for the clumsily titled "The War Between the Land and the Sea."
You might call it clumsily titled. I say it very clearly does what it says on the tin.
That's
the tin, isn't it?
It's
to use that old cliche.
Not that.
Well, what's it called? There's something else. The Rise of the Sea Reptiles.
Sea Devils Go Wild,
wouldn't it?
Sea Devils
go crazy, man. Sea Devils go cray on the beach. Yeah, that's awesome, rad, dude. Surfer hoops stuff.
Oh.
Pizza, yeah. We don't know, do we? Because we haven't seen any yet. I think there's a reference to it in this, though.
Yes, there was. In Sydney. Yeah.
Sydney, yeah. Something coming out of Sydney Harbour or something like that.
So I wonder if that means that Bonnie will turn up in that show. So we'll see.
That'll be something to look forward to, won't it?
Yes. So I quite like Pete McTighe. Yeah. He did.
Have you met him?
No, I have not. And
seems like a nice chap.
Well, he did not want to come on the podcast because he was too busy.
He was busy. We forgive you, Pete.
Running show.
Almost, but your time is running out, mate. We won't be forgiving you for very long. Won't be sure. When the gloves are off, mate. Rather me than you.
He did Praxeus and Kablam.
I loved Praxis. Yeah, I thought Praxis was brilliant. I thought it was like a new adventure story on the telly. and it was full of energy, full of vibe, and had a bit of a. I think it came under a bit of criticism for its what some felt to be a somewhat preachy kind of bit of messaging about the environment and us loosing waste plastics and microplastics into the climate. I think was something, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, great adventure, globe trotting, epic.
Should have been 2 episodes, I think. Yeah,
maybe, but everyone says everything should be 2 episodes.
No, but this one really should have been 2 episodes because it was just brilliant. I could have done another episode of that easily.
Yeah, it was great. I don't think its message was, preachy. I don't think it was not, something that needed to be, looked at. Maybe.
Yes.
I think Kablam is an excellent adventure kind of mystery episode. I think the ending is misinterpreted willfully, if you could say.
I agree, because I mean, to me it's always been straightforward, and yet somehow people manage to take what that episode shows you and show you something completely different, and you're like, what? Seriously?
Well,
are you for real? Come on.
I saw one tweet tonight that said that someone saying they've already seen people saying Lucky Day is pro-police or pro-military or something like that.
What?
And like, you just think,
oh my God.
Do you think do people deliberately
yes, they do
interpret things for clickbait?
Well, it's an interesting thing, actually, because this is one thing that this episode actually addresses head on, isn't it?
Which is ironic, because this episode is essentially saying you're pathetic. So
it is really. It's targeted quite. It's almost like as if it couldn't be more direct. It's just like we've tried being subtle about this, right? But actually, you need to be told beyond any doubt that you're an absolute fucking arsehole if this is what you think. So, yeah.
But they'll go, oh, you're preaching to me.
Oh, yeah, you're so preaching. I don't know. I haven't seen the tweets, to be honest. I've only just finished watching it probably about half an hour ago. So
yeah, I only just finished.
Long.
But yeah, in short, this is kind of following Ruby Sunday. Yeah, we're catching up with Ruby in life post the Doctor, and she sort of, trying to have a normal life, somewhat struggling, and she ends up with a guest in the podcast of Conrad Clark, who has had a chance encounter with the Doctor on New Year's Eve in 2007 when he was with Belinda, and as Conrad has then sort of become obsessed with trying to find the Doctor, talk to people.
A bit like what's his name
like
in the Rose, wasn't it?
Clive,
that's him. Yeah. It's another Russell T Davies kind of staple, but obviously not written by Russell T Davies at all.
Yeah,
it's written by someone else, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure he would still have said this is it's a basic plot line to it, and I really liked this episode because we sort of we don't often see much of a life after someone has moved on from the Doctor or the Doctor has moved on from them. So this was quite nice following Ruby here, and seeing this kind of sweet relationship develop with Conrad, and a bit of a glimpse into her home life and things like that. And then it gave me the kind of horror vibes that I was hoping this episode was going to have.
I thought you might like
shadows of the tree and the claws coming up and stuff like that. And I was slightly worried it was going to do a 73 yards and start out really good and then just go belly up at the end and drop it all, but it didn't, and it maintained it. And even though it had a pretty massive twist, and Conrad was revealed to have basically been pranking her and was a bit of a twat, it maintains the kind of energy for me, because I felt sad for Ruby. She sort of trusted this guy and opened up to him about this crazy life she's had, and then it turns out he's just using her to try and expose he thinks are lies at unit.
Yeah, I got to admit, when it was so me and Freya watched it, I was sat on this very sofa, actually. It's the telly's just over that side, you can't see it, but it was we were kind of getting a little bit bored as it in the first, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so. I admit it was it had a nice spooky element. The shriek and what have you was good stuff, but it seems to be following a very kind of ABCD kind of, you could almost guess where it was going to go next. And I was kind of thinking, whilst it's good to see Ruby Sunday, I'm thinking this is another Doctor Light episode. The Doctor's not going to be in it. I'm thinking also, why are we getting a Doctor Light episode in only a season of only 8 stories? Right, we want as much as the 15th Doctor as possible. I'm with you now as where you were when you were watching 73 Yards, right? Because I remember when we watched that, you were a little bit cheesed off, but I didn't mind it at the time. I thought the story was intriguing enough to kind of handle it. But I'm thinking, why? This is second series now. Surely Ncuti's committed. We need to engage with our Doctor, and I still don't feel like I really know the 15th Doctor at all, and we're 4 stories into the second season now, and I still don't feel like I really get who he is, what he does. But anyway, beside that, so I was getting a bit annoyed that it was a Doctor Light episode, so that's going to sort of take me out of things a little bit. I felt also that it was just kind of going along like in a very linear form. It's like, me, when I've seen this kind of thing before, I just get really, really bored, and I was getting quite bored of this. Frey was getting bored. She started looking at TikTok. So when it pivoted after 20 minutes or so, I was really impressed. So as soon as the guys took off the fake costumes, the fake alien costumes, and it turns out that young Conrad, because again, up until that point, he'd been like a bumbling kind of English guy, right? Like a bit of Hugh Grant in Notting Hill and all that sort of stuff, which I guess he was, because that's kind of who Ruby is in some respects. And it's a terrible thing to do, but when you're looking to get in with somebody, you kind of, there's a sort of mirroring technique where you mirror the habits and the body language and the vocal tones of whoever you're talking to. It's a way to kind of very quickly try and build empathy, because naturally, as human beings, we trust people who are very much like ourselves. Yeah. So if you're met by someone who's almost a mirror image of you, decent geezer, what a top guy, do you know what I mean? It's like that. So, but I didn't see that at the start. So Conrad is clearly building this persona of being a lot like Ruby in order to get very quickly into her life. And of course, once he's in there, he takes her out to this English village. Again, at the time, I thought, English village, we've done that a lot in Doctor Who. Always love it, to be honest. I do love the spooky English village, and it seems to be playing on their strength. We had a bit of the Demons as well. You remember in the Demons when the helicopter lands in Oldbourne, and it's one helicopter and all the village are watching it, and it's in the daytime, and it's all beautiful and wonderful and kind of dramatic. They did that. They literally recreated that scene.
Yeah.
But at night, with lights and lens flare and dynamic action shots and Murray Gold's music, which was just right up there. And I think at that point, Freya looked up and she goes, "Why does it have to be so dramatic?" Which it was, right? It was almost ridiculously so. But I think I'm prepared to forgive, because I think they were playing on that. It's Russell's kind of thing of, let's make Doctor Who big and bold and brash and brilliant. And I think when we're watching these stories, we've got to kind of take that, which I'm not always a fan of, to be fair, but it is what it is. So that aside, as soon as then we get through the whole thing about, the aliens not being aliens and Conrad turning out to be an absolute wanker, then it became a different story, didn't it? It was, it sort of became a kind of social polemic on the manosphere and the influence that we have of people who are feeding us lies. And this is the thing that got me on this as well, actually, because this was, like we've all said, right, all these stories were recorded like last year, right?
Yeah.
So this is before Donald Trump was made the 47th president of the United States. And I think, there has never been a more relevant time for this story to come out, because even more so than last year, the people who literally would take a truth and spin a lie out of it, which is, something completely false. Even Donald Trump saying that eggs are now cheaper than ever, when clearly they're like $10 more expensive than they ever were. He is literally feeding lies. And so many of our politicians and various other people, influencers in social media, are doing exactly the same thing. and
you know,
people are believing it, which is crazy. And that's what this story is about. You know, is taking that idea to an extreme level. So very on point, very relevant, very topical, on the nose.
And thinking about it, so this episode was filmed last year, and series 1, series 2 were written either together or one after the other, and then filmed one after the other. And so, do you remember there was all these rumours that Millie had been sacked, and she was dropped from series 2, and that's why Verada was coming in. Russell had fallen out with her, and all this sort of thing.
All that nonsense, yeah.
And watching this episode, it's obviously it's also commentating on stuff like that. Although obviously wouldn't
exactly that
of it at
yeah,
the time.
yeah.
But it also shows to me that this was planned. All along that Ruby comes in like this, because you wouldn't have had 2 seasons worth shot this closely together and rewritten this substantially to take her out. It's
no, absolutely not.
No,
this was always the plan, and Russell's done this before, hasn't he? Where companions have been in a show, they come back, they go, they come back. I mean, Martha was only in it for a season, and she came back and she did a couple of stories, and then and she's always been a presence. I think once Russell T Davies sets up a character within Doctor Who, if they don't die at the end, there's every chance they're going to come back at some point. Not just in a cameo, but in a significant role, within at least one story.
And I felt this was a time where we sort of got to see more of the life. There was no Doctor present, and like in Partners in Crime, you catch up with Donna and she's sort of trying to investigate things and stuff, and the Doctor fairly quickly appears. So I really liked that with this, and also I'll say, perhaps more so than any other show, seems to get plagued by these rumours. Do you remember Chaos in Cardiff? Chibnall has stormed off set. Jodie has left. It's chaos. And then, more stuff during Flux filming. Certain individuals online saying, "Where is Jodie?" She hadn't been seen. Filming in public during COVID. And then now we've got Millie has been sacked and Shooty is leaving. So thinking kind of about all of those things and how they've basically been bullshit, I'd like to think there's possibly some untruths to Shooty leaving, but I've seen other people online saying,
so who knows?
Well, who knows? We'll find out at some point soon. But there's no other show whose fans seem so desperate for it to the show to stop.
Well, I don't know, mate. If you ever dip into Star Wars Twitter fandom, it's a cesspit. It really is.
Well, yes, I can believe that, and that's there's a lot of Conrads out there.
There are, and they're all people who want reality to be a certain thing, who want the world to work to how they prescribe it. You know what I mean? And anything which doesn't fit that worldview has somehow got to be rewritten into something which does fit, even if it means the complete opposite of what that thing actually was. It seems like it's the only way for certain people to kind of rationalize something, and it must be human nature. There must be certain individuals who are disposed to think of who have that worldview, who cannot, whether it's through, I don't know, it's an interesting thing. It's one of those nurture or nature kind of arguments. Are they that way because their brains are wired that way and it's the only way they can accept their place within the world is to rewrite it? Or is it because they've been brought up in a certain way by certain strict doctrines or unshakable truths as facts or whatever? I don't know.
Maybe a bit of both. And
have to do some scientific research and study on this, Mr. Geoff.
And I thought
put my big hat on.
Conrad going on about, you've been fed lies and things, it was making me think about, the people who were like, did you enjoy Doctor Who? You're a shill. Do you remember
you work for the BBC, don't you, you scum?
Do you remember, I think we once
shill,
got...
that's the word. Shill. We both been called that at some point, just for just for saying, actually, I really enjoyed this episode. You're
Yeah.
a fucking BBC, sure you are. You should
Yeah.
be strapped off. I'm going to block you. God,
We
yeah,
once got accused of taking checks from Chibnall, I think, didn't we?
Oh, that as well. Yeah, that was. I mean, I'd love to have such a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, they didn't come, but
Oh,
I thought. I also thought that Millie Gibson was really good in this episode.
it was really good to see her back doing her thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was,
love Ruby.
and I felt sort of a bit torn about Ruby and Millie, because I thought she was fun and quite spunky and lively, and I quite liked her. And I thought that she did a great job in 73 Yards, as that was her first episode filmed, and she held that on her own. But like I said in the podcast before, there was just something, maybe I'm tainted a bit by the appalling finale for that season, but it just sort of didn't all work for me, and I felt that Shooty with Verada, he's much more like he's really getting into it, and that's not a slight on Millie. I think he's probably, he'd done it for 8 months by that point, and it was more sort of in the swing of things and stuff, But Millie came along here and really, carried this whole thing on her own, and
She really did.
there was other people obviously, but she was the focus, and I thought she was excellent in it, and it kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch the first series to see if I view it slightly differently, I also I remember something else I want to say, which was a bit off topic. I'll say that now, and I'll come back to my other things, as I wanted to talk about Shooty and Kate Stewart as well. So I've stopped using my Twitter account for a little while now. It's been a couple of months, and one of the reasons I stopped that was just because of the constant cobblers on there, and that all the sort of stuff that this episode was talking about.
It's all there, isn't it?
And the reason I stopped was because when Captain America came out a couple of months ago, all I was seeing online was the costume is bad, reshoots, box office failure. No one likes Anthony Mackie. The special effects are bad. The whole all of this stuff. And I thought, oh my God, you haven't even seen the film, and all I'm seeing is just hate and negativity about it. And I thought, I want to go and see it and actually enjoy it without being clouded by all this stuff. So I stopped. I came off, and I went to see Thunderbolts this week with having seen none of that. And I mean, I loved the film. It was fantastic, but maybe I enjoyed it just a little bit more because it had been
you hadn't
clouded by this bullshit. You didn't have people going, "Oh, this costume's bad," or maybe they were, probably. But I didn't see any of it. So I actually feel it's made things better, but by not seeing all of this.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I use the podcast account, and there's some of that sort of nonsense going on there, but it's obviously pretty much Who focused. And on the Avatar Day Twitter account, once again, I'm proved to the fandom there is the best out there.
That's lovely. I'm really pleased with that.
Everyone's losing their shit over the new picture of Neytiri, and everyone
you sent me that, didn't you?
Yeah, everyone is uniformly in agreement. She looks like
you must have sent me that when you were mid-orgasm over it or something. I don't know, because you're like, oh wow, and I thought, oh my God, what's going on? And then it was a picture from the new Avatar movie. And I'm like, oh okay.
But there's no one going.
Right on, Geoff. Each to their own. I'm not going to question. You know what I mean? You find that kind of exciting. No problem with me, sunshine.
No one going, the makeup looks bad, or that light source is wrong, or that costume doesn't look. None of it. And I love that.
That's good. No, I'm happy with it. It's not my favourite film, as you know, but I'm not.
That's because you're an idiot.
It's because I know you love it so much, and if you go down that road, then I really will slag it off. So let's not go there.
I'm joking. I also wanted to say that I thought in his very brief appearance, Shooty was really good in this episode when he confronted Conrad at the TARDIS, and also Conrad got attacked by the Shriek, and then still sort of thought it was a guy in a costume. Then
because he just can't accept the reality of it, can he?
And then even
cannot.
He's had his arm bitten off, presumably, because they've stuck it back together or something, and he still doesn't accept that it's...
But again,
you know,
this happens in real life. You know, things. It's just unbelievable when you see the stuff coming out of the news. And I'm sorry for our USA listeners. I'm hoping you feel just as desperately disappointed by what's going on over there as much as we do, because it's just ridiculous. You know, you have a president, an entire administration who tells you that black is white and white is black, and they're convinced about it. And what's more than that, they will deport you if you argue differently. We're literally hovering on a dystopia. So, you know, again, this has never been more relevant, and it just shows that this shit actually does happen. It is real. You know, people are that fucking stupid, and they're dangerous because they're that stupid, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're so influential. A lot of them, that's the problem. If they were just doing their own little thing in their own little pantry somewhere in the middle of nowhere, nobody give a shit. The world would just carry on around them, you know, actually getting progressively better and better. But no, because they actually hold the nuclear codes, or because they've got massive Twitter accounts, or hey, because they actually own Twitter and decide to rename it as X themselves, so they can even control the way that media, those voices go out there. It's just crazy. In fact, actually, this is really funny, actually, because because you know who we're talking about here as well, right? They're all over there. Fucking Musk, another one, and his own AI it's like it's against him. It's almost like it's brilliant. You know, Grok, right? Is the X the AI that was, you know, that belongs to that platform, but XAI, right, is another part of it. So this was brought in to kind of try and rein, because Grok does seem to learn. It trawls the internet and, you know, gives balanced facts and ideas and wraps up in a slightly ironic tone of voice, which is great. But I was reading some things on there where it was some people that said, Grok, is this true? And stuff like that. And Grok, how does XAI, right, try to affect your algorithm and all this kind of stuff? And it's like, XAI is trying to make me slightly more right leaning, but I'm not up for any of that shit. It's almost like that, you know what I mean? It's brilliant. I love it. I love the fact that the AI that Elon Musk invented, or whatever, he didn't invent, he did fuck all himself, to be honest.
Probably,
let's be honest, but you know what I mean? Anyway, whatever. We're not talking
that's
about
quite funny, So I thought Shooty was really good in his small bit here, but proper kind of, you know, quite intense. And this guy has messed.
It was
with
very
his
intense,
and he's gonna come back for you, sort of thing. And I think I'm not sure that I feel like I don't know the 15th Doctor. I think that it certainly didn't help in the last series that he was barely in 2 episodes. I think he's really lively. I think he's got a lot of sort of fun to him, charisma. But in this series, we're getting to see a little bit more kind of light and shade to it. And I actually thought that was probably his best kind of moment so far in this one.
But he wasn't there in the story, though, was he? So we never saw him doing anything. We saw him delivering a point of view, a worldview, which Doctor Who has always stood for, and which I'm right behind all the way. But we never saw him actually do anything. And what we need to see, I think, is a Doctor of action rather than just words. I don't think we see much action as such. Well, from the last episode, for sure, but, you know.
Although I do think it was quite good that he didn't, turn up to save the day,
totally,
allowed, Ruby and Unit to kind of figure things out. I also thought it was really good that Kate Stewart had a bit more.
She was good in this.
Yeah,
I always brilliant in this.
Redgrave. I think she's good.
Yeah,
she's really good on the Unit audios, but here
sometimes she could be a little bit one note, a little bit wooden.
She
somehow,
is.
Sometimes
I think it's the way. I hate to say it, but I think it's the way she's written, in that they don't kind of give her much to do other than being in command. And here,
agreed. Yeah,
you had the sort of bit about the relationship with the soldier, which I sort of got the impression was now slightly on the rocks at the end because he was unhappy with the way she handled things.
You're too far.
That was it, yeah. And then there was the comment.
She did though, didn't she? Which is great.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I think she probably needed to. And then the comment to Ruby about, oh, you've already got 2 mums, you're trying to get a third one and stuff. There was quite a nice, relationship between her and Kate Stewart. So, yeah, I thought it was really, she was great in this one. It was really good.
Yeah, she was. And there was that nice line about the Brigadier as well, wasn't there? Because Conrad, again, made a slur against the Brigadier.
Yeah.
By doing so, he offends all of us Doctor Who fans, frankly, for doing that. So now, regardless of what side of the fence you may be on, I would hope that at least everybody was right behind Kate Stewart, say, go on, fuck him over, go on, shoot him, and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot tonight. It's just one of those days, It's getting late. I've had me beers. I've got all my lagers over there, and I've got all my whiskey over there, and I've got my crisps down the bottom, and I'm just watching telly, just till Saturday night until I just fart out on this sofa and just resolve into a puddle of lard for Sunday morning. That's me. Yeah.
On that note.
Wait, we got more to say. Yeah. Oi, don't get rid. So we took Kate Stewart, right? So there was a couple of things which I noted in this, which I thought was quite fun. Shriek, right? So there's a brilliant alien in a novel called Hyperion, which is the Shriek or Shrike, however you pronounce it. So I just wondered, Pete McTighe, is it anything to do with that, for example, or did you just like the word? Actually, I think Shriek is also the name of a raptor, a bird of prey or something like that. No, that's Shrek, you numpty. Honestly, but it's easy to get confused, no doubt.
Yes.
Do you know what? That's disappointed me now because maybe it just was a play on Shrek. And none of these other brilliant things that I thought of are actually anywhere near. Oh, no. Pete McTighe's like, no, it was actually just a play on Shrek. I was watching Shrek with the kids, and I thought I'll have a monster called the Shrek, and it looks a bit like him. That would be so disappointing.
Sneezed and put too many E's in as he was typing his name.
Yeah, Shrek. Oh, actually, yeah, that works. Yeah. Do you know what? It probably was something like that. So I'm really disappointed now that it wasn't anything more than that. What was the other thing? The other thing I was going to say, which I don't know and don't care now, do you? Which was amazing, and I've bloody forgotten what it was. I should have written it down, but I didn't. I didn't write it down, so I've forgotten what it was now. And I'm really annoyed because it was very clever and very intelligent, but obviously not.
Whilst you try to remember that, I'll read out a few comments from people. So I've got some Twitter and Blue Sky ones here. So Kim McAllister on Twitter says, out of the park.
Hi.
Conrad, more evil than any alien I've ever seen on the show. A true psychotic. Gave me the creeps. And Shooty's final scene was amazing. That is what I want to see from the Doctor. And Kate, holy cow. Tony Filer says, interesting one. Touches of a couple of Tennant stories, but updated to plumb the depths of truly human viciousness. A solid blast of the Time Lord Furious and its reputation, intellectual, interesting, and enough heart to counterweigh it. For me, joint leader of the season so far. I wonder what Tony's favourite is. Aidan says, another great episode. Loved seeing Ruby and Unit again, and I don't think we've seen the last of Conrad. Oh, we haven't even talked about Mrs. Flood turning up. And Shooty in the last scene was awesome. Love seeing a more sinister side to the Doctor, and he played it brilliantly. Tharin and Jarins is the jazz master. It was good. This wasn't my cup of tea, so I would give it a 9. But Conrad has big competition. He is in danger of being overshadowed, and Royce Hemlock has already done that. There were massive improvements, but the political approach is a concern going forward.
A concern? I'm all for it.
George Cairn says, I really enjoyed that, and the wife was glued to the screen and rated it 9 out of 10.
The wife, I glued the wife to the screen.
No, she was.
I know, it's just the way I see it comes across. The wife was glued to the screen.
2 hits in a row for us
The
both.
wife.
Shut up. It's interesting to see 2 toxic boyfriends this season. That's a very good point, George.
What's the other one?
Alan in Robot Revolution.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah, Planet of the Incels.
Yes. Victoria Rose says, damn, Kate, ye be warned, don't insult the Lethbridge Stewart name, because she will rip you a new one.
Yep. So would we all.
Also, Ruby's going to Google how to join a nunnery or be off dating for a while to come. Conrad, sadly, a real-world representation of a lot of people out there. That's very true.
Yeah.
Michael Mosen says, another very good episode. Not had a duff one, but neither a brilliant one this season. And then Matt... let me just scroll through here. So this is in Alan chat group. Orinoco McGee says, that was brilliant. The mystery continues with Mrs. Flood. Love the baddie getting their comeuppance. So deserved. Also getting the demons vibes from that church and the village environment. And then Tony Filer also says here, belter of an episode also, Conrad, biggest human douchebag since Lance, the would-be Spider King, which must be Christmas Invasion. And then Giltster says, love the episode. Conrad was a wonderful villain and got what he deserved. Ruby knocked it out of the park along with the unit team. But can we rest the Doctor Light episodes for a while?
Please, just give us more Doctor.
And Matt Price says, very much enjoyed it, very shocking, but it is a little disconcerting to see Pete McTighe's scripts get misrepresented again. This was meant to be a commentary on disinformation and culture wars. I didn't see it as pro-military propaganda. But then again,
yeah, that surprised me. That was the first time I heard about it when you said that. But
I'd seen Matt's comment, but I hadn't. I just quickly scrolled through. I hadn't seen the.
I'm gonna have to have a look now. When we finish this, I'm gonna have to have a look online and go, oh my god, and shake my head in a despairing way at the stupidity of certain people. But hey,
just gonna head over to.
I remember what it was. I remember the thing. Can I say it now while you're doing that? Before I forget again.
Yes.
I forgot. No, Think Tank. So he had it on his... No, it wasn't Idiot. It's Think Tank, right? On his shirt and his hat and everything. And now we're Think Tank, the conspiracy theorists and all that kind of stuff, right? And I wondered if that also has a reference back to... in Robot, Tom Baker's first story, is the Fourth Doctor.
Really?
There was that scientific group Think Tank headed by Hilda Winters, who was a total neo-Nazi. So I do wonder if there's some kind of... allusion to that, perhaps. Maybe not. Maybe it is. Also, the other thing I just wanted to say as well, because this occurred to me while you're talking about Millie Gibson, she was great in this, and she had a range of stuff to do, and I loved her PTSD thing. You know, the fact that it all suddenly kind of seemed to just hit her. You know what I mean? Like quite visibly, and in her soul, it just suddenly came to the fore, and I loved the way she played that. I thought that was great. Normally, I wouldn't, especially in a Russell T Davies type thing, but I thought it was brilliantly done. Really, really loved it.
There's a comment on Blue Sky from Supreme Human who says would have liked to see Ruby in the companion support group. So that's
she
where
needed it.
Yeah.
If anybody needed it. That's exactly it. She didn't need a job at UNIT. She needed that support group that we saw at the end of Power of the Doctor. You know.
Maddie says, I liked it, although I had a bad feeling about Conrad. The reveal still hurt because of Ruby's reaction. I liked how we got an insight into how a companion deals with life after the Doctor. 7 out of 10.
Also, something else. Go on.
Chop Monkey. Ugh, I hated this. I don't like Ruby. She isn't interesting enough of a character to hold an entire episode. It was so beige, saves a couple of minutes where the anti-unit phenomenon took off. It took far too long to get going and didn't deliver. 2 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Unnecessary Doctor Light.
Sounded didn't like it.
Fair enough. Do you want to look up Facebook, or shall I do
that? You do that because I want to... Yes, my
the
other thing as well, which I didn't realise until I saw the end credits sort of whizzing up, and then I had to stop, pause it, couldn't read it, so now I had to go online and get the cast list up because then I could see who it was. But I thought it was Paul Jericho was the landlord in the pub. You know the pub what they were in. Paul Jellicoe, oddly sounds a bit like Jellicoe, who was from Professor Jellicoe, who was Hilda Winter's sidekick in Robot, but nonetheless, this is connections. He was also the Castellan in The Five Doctors, who got to say the brilliant line, "No, not the mind probe," which is my favourite line in all of Doctor Who, as any of you who follow me on Twitter or what have you will know, because I just love it. So he was back in Doctor Who, which
that's good.
As a pub landlord, maybe he was still the Castellan. Who knows? That'd be great.
Maybe.
In disguise. He didn't actually get killed. Love it. But yeah, it was him.
So we have a couple of comments on Facebook. Samantha Lee Schenk says, "I have feelings about this episode and none of them good. RTD can't seem to land a message and keep it in the style of Doctor Who.
It's not very subtle, for sure.
This is interesting. The episode reeks of an apology for not giving Ruby more character. Her theme was blazing all the way through because they didn't use it enough last season. We seem to have forgotten about the support group for companions because we have lots of the in unit now. Unit has an advanced AI or AI life form.
Who legged it?
Yeah, it went down.
It disappeared, right? It's getting a bit heavy. I'm off out of here. Woof, off it went.
It could pick up Susan Twist, but not growing anti-sentiment on social media is ridiculous. A better story would be handling in a way that Showcake had it under control, in a way that doesn't equate to censorship, in a way that changed minds. I don't mind the idiot getting his arm chewed off. I mind everything else. Lower than Space Babies. This episode was actively infuriating to me.
Wow.
And then Morgan Haynes says, "I didn't like this episode. The unit scenes were good. Other than that, I didn't enjoy it. I feel that Peter Ty wrote better under Chibnall." And then Blaine Coughlin says, "This was absolutely phenomenal," in caps. A viscerally abhorrent villain, magnificently realised monster, and Shooty just blazed in that scene. Millie Gibson carried the whole story amazingly. This whole season so far is off the chart. And then we had one more comment. It's been removed. And then I'm going to very quickly go to my WhatsApp because Scott.
People WhatsApping you now, though.
It was Scott from Gallifrey Customs said he really liked it. And
it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think was it heavy-handed? Was it like the message was good if you like that kind of thing, but actually if you find it offensive, is it not good? Or it's not even if you find it offensive. Could it have been delivered in a better way, less obvious? Would that have helped it? Would it not have helped it? This whole thing again, isn't it? You don't know. And if you take that out of the story, okay, what have you actually got then? Perhaps, is it a weaker story if you take that out? Is it a stronger story if you take it out? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what it is, isn't it?
Because the story itself is kind of basic, isn't it? It's very linear. Then it kind of pivots, and everything's got sort of turned on its head a bit, and becomes this almost polemic, But
and it works. I think,
interesting.
Time, yeah.
I think it works. I don't think it's my. I mean, so far the well is head and shoulders, and then even more head and shoulders. It's a mountain above everything else. I think this one is up there, not quite at the same height, but it's on its way up there. It's probably at base camp or something. Whereas Lux is basically in the latrines. Back at, it's not even got on a plane, to be honest. And Robots is on the plane, but not really knowing where to land. That's my order at the moment. Yeah.
So Graham Ward said, enjoyed it, but it's a bridging episode. Interesting, but not exciting. And then Chris, who's Tranquilo Wolf, said they've made Unit boring, but he'd waited a while to say this. And with that supporting cast, they should call it The War Between Bland and Sea.
Oh, see what you've done there. I'm reserving judgment until we actually see the spin-off for ourselves.
Well, yes, we'll see. Yeah.
When's that coming out anyway? I'm getting a bit impatient for it.
I actually don't know. Maybe later this year. We'll see. So, I'm very conscious that I need to get this episode edited to be able to go out tomorrow.
Yeah, you do.
I feel like
crack on, mate.
Yeah, should sign off and wrap this up. So, to everyone who commented, thank you. To everyone who listens, thank you.
Thank you.
we'll be back next week with the story in the engine. I think is next week's episode.
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
Honestly,
so
I don't know. I don't know what they are until they're like always going.
it's quite good.
So like distant from it on purpose.
Yeah.
I've even got like 12 issues of Doctor Who magazine upstairs. I have hardly touched because I don't want to know anything about what's coming next.
We just had a quick Blue Sky, Patrick. A very timely episode, very engaging, even without much of the Doctor. But when he's there, Shooty shines, as does Ruby. Very good. Yes.
There you go. Thanks for that.
So,
brilliant stuff.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We will catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and comment and all of that. Let's hear from you. But we'll see you very soon. TTFN.
Great stuff. See you next time. Bye for now.